killing bush. I've got him at gunpoint. They're pulling them out.
911. Advise ready for camp.
Welcome to another episode of War Stories. I'm Tom.
And I'm Chuck.
And we are back with you. We've been having some... It's nice that I can find time to do this, even though if I can't find time to do Locker Room. Locker Room can be a little bit difficult getting all of our schedules together. So it's nice to still be able to do this. We are here recording this week's episode. You've been scouring the social media, people. We're getting some cool social media. I like it.
Yeah, I like to go to the accounts that I follow most often, and I've been in communications with a few people. But you know, like any other law enforcement or thing, trying to get people to come together, it's like herding cats sometimes. And when you get someone, you link up with them, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, I'll come on," and they come on quick. You get them on as quick as you can. But yeah, I've been talking to a few people and got some other stuff in the works, and it should be pretty cool. But this one, this gentleman that we have coming on the show, I've actually been following on my personal account. I'm sure many of you have been following him on your personal accounts too. It's the Chief on Instagram, and we've all seen him do reaction videos. We've all seen him do breakdowns of incidents, critical incidents, and just funny things, and just all types of different things. He makes light of law enforcement, and really does a good job of humanizing the badge. He spent 20 years in law enforcement in Chicago, and we welcome the Chief.
What's up, fellas?
How are you?
Happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. It's hot as hell out here in Chicago, man, but drinking a nice cold one.
Yeah, here in North Idaho, I've got a balmy 82. And what? It's 82.
We're sitting at like 115 today.
It's really hot. It's 82.
95 and 61% humidity.
See, that's the worst part is the humidity. I've been to Chicago. It was the first time in my life it was ever 88 degrees and flipping raining. It was
You got lucky.
the most bizarre thing. Anyway,
Never been to Chicago, but I know that heat and humidity, and it ain't fun.
So yeah, I've been to Chicago, and you know what? It's of the larger cities, it's a pretty cool one. I mean, it's fucking unsafe, and they call it Chirac and all that stuff. But I mean,
You get a little bit of everything. Yeah, you get a little bit of everything. You go to get a sandwich like close to downtown. You get a good sandwich. You get to see a fight, possibly a stabbing, and maybe a shooting. Where can you get that in the world?
Right. It's it's awesome.
You can get it in LA, but it smells like shit.
Yeah.
I mean, everything.
And you might get herpes.
Shit.
We got the lake that blows all that away.
Right. You guys have at least okay. So that was another thing too, before we get into it. Well, I stood on the shore of Lake Michigan, and I was like, they tell you the Great Lakes, right? And then you actually stand on the shore of it and you realize you can't see either end or the other side. And it's just a lake. And you forget, like, when you stand on the Pacific Ocean, that's 3,000 miles, wide. Lake Michigan's not, but because you still can't see the end of it, it feels like you're standing on the edge of the ocean. It's the most, you're like, I'm standing at the edge of a lake, but it feels like the ocean.
Oh, you could drive for hours on that thing and not hit land. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Lake Michigan is huge. Like, I mean, it's massive. I mean, and it's a great place. If you didn't have to worry about the rats grabbing your food and maybe getting robbed, you would think you're in maybe a resort. Like seriously, it's you don't
beautiful.
leave your house. Yeah. Besides that, it's freaking beautiful. They comb the sand. They comb the sand every day.
Yeah.
Chicago Park District does a great job, taking care of the property. But unfortunately, we got trash.
Yeah. Well,
not trash like trash, but trash like people going there. Trash.
Like the residents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how about you give us your Instagram handle so people can follow you on Instagram? But more importantly, it is the Chief, right? So go ahead and give that out.
Yeah. So I go by the Chief Official on everything across Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, pretty much on all handles. I started off just on
Chief Official.
Yeah, it's
the Chief.
Yeah,
DA.
DA. The Chief.
The
Chief. I had to throw a little ghetto in there, being from Chicago. Got to throw a little bit of hood in there. The Chief.
Yeah. That's why I should have mine the police.
Yeah, the police. Yeah, that'd be good too.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things is when you know somebody, they come from the hood when they still refer to you as the police. Not the police. Not the police.
Or coppers. We call it coppers out here.
Coppers.
Right. We do it here too.
There you go.
They still say 5-0. You go in there, yo, 5-0 coming.
5-0.
And they don't even understand where that
One
comes
time?
from. Like,
No, they don't. They don't know who Jack Lord is. Anyway, so the Chief, we'll call you. Can I just call you Chief?
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. Now, it's not a nickname. It is a nickname, but it's based on the fact that you, in fact, were a chief of police, correct?
Yeah, I was police chief for 4 years. So it's just pretty much knowing that I was going to be leaving the job soon. I had enough of the administration. I started up on Instagram and I said, you know what? Go with chief. And then I said, we'll go with the chief, throw a little hood in there and stuff.
Right,
just by everyone still calls me that. And now with the name and Instagram, stuff like that, now everyone just calls me the chief, just stuck with me.
Man, you
It's like
good
anything.
genes because you look too young to be a chief.
Well, I just turned 50 years old. I started on law enforcement when I was 20 and a half. So I got lucky
Yeah.
and got out quick. And actually because of social media, because of, you guys doing stuff like that, everyone does. I seen that there's an opportunity out there to do other things and make a shitload of more money and help out instead of helping out civilians, and people, in distress, help out my brothers and sisters, law enforcement, first responders and stuff like that. Maybe just pick them up. My thoughts was that maybe, just maybe, especially with all the suicides and stuff for law enforcement, maybe a police officer sitting around in a squad car having a shitty ass day, scrolling through his phone, contemplating, hey, I'm gonna off myself, comes across my video and just starts chuckling, and just says, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not gonna do it. And I used to get DMs. I still get them sometimes, but when I first started, I get DMs all the time. Hey, chief, I'm not feeling well. Hey, I would call them up. I would message them, not, and still I get them here once in a while, and I try to help them. And that's my main thought about this. Plus, there's a lot of money to be made out here with this.
Yeah, there is.
Well,
and you cracked the code, sir.
Yeah, I can tell you that we found the same thing. We don't really do. I mean, we're not as big on the social media as I think a lot of the other ones. Donut. And,
we're getting there. We're gonna get there.
Chuck wants us to. Chuck wants us to
we're gonna get there
on the social medias. But when I started, I was doing the social media just as a way to let people know we had a podcast, and it was kind of the, just one of those things you did, right? I didn't maintain it necessarily, and I still kind of don't. Chuck is really the brains behind the social media now. But I liked doing the podcast, and because when I retired, I kind of walked away from law enforcement and said, I'm done with it. I don't need it anymore. Fuck it. Right. Like I'm moving on a new chapter of my life. And I completely turned my back on it. Right. I had I still had some friends that were cops at other agencies and whatnot, but I was angry because I didn't want to retire, and,
feel you on that.
A couple years later, I'm starting to get into the podcast idea, cause I enjoyed the creation of that stuff. And I was just going to do something for my friends. And you guys have heard the story before. I won't rehash it, but we had a couple other podcast names and we did a couple other formats. And then ultimately it ended up being me and some cop buddies and some veteran buddies sitting around swapping stories like we do. And when we were done, a friend of mine listened to it and said, dude, that's the most interesting 20 minutes I've ever listened to people talk about. Mm-hmm. And I felt good about it too. And then I realized that it was a part of my life that was missing, was helping out, and the camaraderie and the community of law enforcement. And as much as I was angry at my department and the circumstances surrounding my retirement, I wasn't angry at cops. They were my brothers still. And I had to kind of remind myself of that. So I get what you're saying when you get post-retirement and you still want to help out, but you realize you can do more to help your community of officers than you can. You don't have to help the public anymore. You've been there, you've done that, you've put in your time. Now you can just be there for your fellow officers and firefighters and veteran buddies.
Yeah. And that's my mindset. I think I've done enough to put my life on the line, to help out complete strangers. And that's what you get into this job for, to do. I mean, but I felt that, hey, you know what, at this time, in this day of age and how bad police officers get in such a bad name, it's time to start just focusing on them. And I'm not out to look. If money comes along with it, I'm financially set with my retirements and stuff like that.
Right.
If whatever financial comes with it, I'm grateful. It's extra, but to see how much comes with it, along with it, and helping out my brothers and sisters, that it's amazing.
Right.
The best feeling is when you're sitting there and you're yourself are having maybe like a down day, and you get an email or a direct message on Instagram or whatever, and you get that one person that listened to a podcast or saw your post. And they go, "Hey, I just want to let you know I've been dealing with a really dark time, a really tough time, and I've been listening to your guys' podcast for a while, and this episode, whatever that episode was, really helped me get through what I've been going through, and it made me feel like I wasn't alone." Right. And when we get those messages, it fucking validates everything. It makes everything what we're doing, the hours that we put in to do this, to edit everything, to put up posts, to constantly be looking at things, it makes it all worth it. And then when you have a guest come on and then they message you back and they go, "Hey, I got so many messages from people about the podcast I was on. They listened to it and said, wow, that really helped me. I've been feeling the same way. And now I know I'm not alone." And that really, the validation you get from that, I think, is so much stronger than monetary value, that you have all this like camaraderie that you're getting from it. You get all this emotions that you're actually helping someone. And that's what we strived out to do. That's why we became law enforcement. That's why we went to the military, because we wanted to help those that couldn't help themselves, or we wanted just to help people in general when they're having a bad day. And we're still doing that even after we've done our career in law enforcement or military, and we keep pushing on.
That's the best part of the job. I mean, that's the best part of this. And that's the thing I love, and just getting the message. And yeah, you're going to get your hated comments, but after doing, my first 4 years, and like you guys are going to get them comments. "Oh, your stuff is crap. You're not this, you're not that."
Oh, yeah.
Man, I got to the point now where I just zoned it out, where I'm a professional blocker. I don't even deal with it. I don't even, you won't see me message people back. It's just like, "Hey, you don't like my shit? I'm blocking you."
Yeah.
That's it. It's simple like that.
I don't need you to follow me. I don't need you to hate watch me. Right?
Yeah.
Just don't watch me.
And it's funny because when I first started, I was still on the job, and I would have officers from not my department, maybe some, or surrounding departments, just like talking so much smack. Like, just like, it's like, they never say it to me because I'd smack the crap out of them. But, they would just like on my page, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." I said, now 4 years later, "Hey man, hey chief, can you hook me up with a belt? Hey chief, can you hook me? Get the like it's just a crew." And then it's like, I won't even get into it, but it's just funny how things change like real fast. We were at a ball game and 60, 70 coppers there. They'll walk up, "Hey, what's up, chief? Can we take a picture? Can we talk to you?" This and that. How things change, and those are guys that were probably 4 years ago that were talking shit.
Right.
Oh yeah, jealousy, bro. They don't want to see you succeed because they maybe themselves wanted to do it, and then they're like, "Fuck, this guy's doing it," or they tried to do it and didn't get anywhere, and then they see someone that they know succeeding in something, and they're like, "Fuck that!" And then when they get real popular, right, then they're like, "Hey, what's up? Like,
except
you're like, nah, get the fuck out of here, dude."
Except TikTok cops. This is not including TikTok cops.
Oh my god, yeah.
We're not counting them.
Yeah, but it's just funny how things just spin around so fast, Yeah. And it's like, and a lot of things that I do, like even like with videos, I used to do a lot of like just like quick tutorials, like change your magazines and this and that. People are like, "Oh, you're doing it wrong." Well, this is the way I do it that works for me. And people don't understand, like with training courses, and you guys know, when you go to a class, you're taking small pieces from that class. You might not even absorb any of that,
right,
but you're going to take some of that and put it into what you already have that works for you.
Yep.
If you have an instructor that says, "Do it like this and only like this," get up and walk out of that fucking class.
Exactly.
He's not an instructor. He's leading the class. That's the way I see it. I never seen it as he's an actual instructor. He's leading the class. He's teaching the curriculum. You take from that bits and pieces and you make it yours.
So here's what I always, as an instructor, because Chuck's department trained me to be an instructor, if that makes any sense. But when I was an instructor for my department, I would always tell my students, I'd say, "Look, okay, I know there are a bunch of different ways to do what we're going to do. Okay, I am teaching you the way the department wants you to learn it. Right?
Mhm.
That is all I am responsible for. If you have cooler stuff and you want to show it to me, awesome. Right? But I still need you to do the work that the department needs you to do so that I can say you know how to do it. And then
You're leading that class. Yep.
when you're out there on the street and you're doing the job, if you pull something from the arsenal I've given you, cool.
Yeah.
If you don't, I understand. I was issued pepper spray by one of the OC instructors. I would really hope that my OC instructor didn't take it personally when for the rest of my career I said, I'm never using this fucking thing on a person. It's OC for dogs, right?
Dude.
Like all the OC instructors in the world are just so sad. They're like, fuck, nobody wants to use the OC.
No, because
That
it
is
contaminates
so
everybody
true.
else.
Like
dude.
they're like sad. They're like that meme where the fucking drug dealer is sitting on the swing lonely and shit. Like nobody wants to use OC. You know,
Dude, I had a
Yeah.
motor cop spray a fucking gypsy in the face, and we got into a fight, and that shit contaminated me,
Yeah.
and I'm allergic to it. And I was like, "You motherfucker!
but so that's the
Oh,
thing.
this burns so bad."
That's the
How
thing.
about the
Like,
jail cell?
what?
Oh, that's bad, dude.
How about when they spray in the jail cell? Like he doesn't
No.
want to come out. But like,
Nope.
and you get that cop that says, "Let me through. I got it," and he fucking just sprays it right in there. Now you
It
just
hurts
made it
so
for
bad.
nobody can go in there.
Dude, we had a guy at our department. We literally called him Dr. Pepper. And we were on a call one time and we're in a very narrow stairwell. Those three of us, we've got a 50 we call it 5149 and a half, not quite 5150, not quite crazy, but crazy enough to have like a butter knife. So it was a threat, or it was threat adjacent, you know? So we were being careful, but we were just trying to give her space and get her to talk her way into compliance. Well, friggin' Dr. Pepper comes down the stairs behind us and like a wrestler comes over the top rope of our shoulders with his arm and just blasts her with OC without telling either one of us, because that was his go-to move was hacha, like fucking Spider-Man and shit with OC. And dude, I told him after that, I'm like, dude, you ever do that again, and you and I will have problems.
Every
quick.
department has that. Every department has
Yeah.
that guy there where it's calm.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
got the domestic situated, and then you like the sergeant or somebody will come in who's never been on the fucking streets, or you got that one guy and he just like, you're going to, and like, what the I just had it all calm and now they're about to fight.
You know what it is? It's like that video game where the guy screams Leroy Jenkins and then just charges into combat without his team. Right? So that's what we're going to call you.
I've worked
That's
with
what,
these like
ladies and
that.
gentlemen. Okay, here. This is what we're telling you right now. If that's you on your department, you're Officer Jenkins, Officer Leroy Jenkins, because you will charge into battle with that fucking team.
So actually, funny story. Real quick.
Were you
before we
Officer
get
Leroy
into-
Jenkins, Chuck?
Yeah. So what had happened was, right, this will be real quick. We had a shooting suspect. We were inside this house. He was barricaded into one of the rooms, and it was like a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, like a 3.5 bedroom ghetto apartment, right? And he had a pit bull in there. And he was like, I need to get my pit bull in the fucking cage. And he's trying to put in this like puppy cage. Long story short, it didn't work. He let the fucking dog out, and dog was a full size pit, like Shar-Pei, like real, like big fucking dog, scary looking. Right. And he was probably about 18
Shar-Peis are the
months
wrinkled
old.
dogs, right?
Yeah. So he was a
Yeah,
pit.
'cause
and a
you said
Shar-Pei
scary
mix.
looking.
Well, no, this dog, imagine the
No,
fucking
a
yolk out
Shar-Pei
and a bunch of
pit
skin
would
on
just
it.
look like a pit bull with
Dude, they're
extra
scary.
skin.
Yeah. So long story short, he lets a dog out, dog runs. So we're like, hey, bring in the catch pole, because we knew he had a dog. So me and my partner, and there's other like 5 other officers in there. I'm like, hey, you guys deal with this. We're going to keep the dog off your back. Well, I gave the catch pole to my partner, and he's just like literally jabbing this fucking thing in the face, and he can't get it. And we have it barricaded into a room, right? Or cordoned off into a room, because dogs can't barricade themselves. So we open the door, and he fucking goes to collar it, misses, fucking dog beelines it right at him. And I'm like, oh fuck. And I already had my pepper spray out, even though we're inside of an apartment, because with dogs, I always have pepper spray. Humans, I'd rather go hands on, because they ain't going to bite me like a dog.
Well, but the pepper spray will work on the dog.
It will. It works really well. And I've already used it in a bunch of pits, and I don't like to shoot dogs. I don't want to shoot a dog unless I absolutely have to.
Well, you don't
I'd
work
rather
for the
spray him. So kind of like just came out. I fucking put my pepper spray and I unloaded on this motherfucker, probably half a can. And the dog retreated back into this room where we were able to collar it. And next thing I know, I'm like, close the fucking door, close the fucking door. We can't let this shit get out.
Right.
And we're just sitting there like all nonchalant. And the supervisor looks at us, who's a buddy of mine, and he goes, "Hey, did one of you motherfuckers just spray pepper spray or OC spray?" And I'm like, so what had happened was, Sergeant, yes.
Oh, you know,
He goes,
it's even
what the fuck? And everybody starts coughing. Everyone vacates. They pull the suspect out, and he's like, "Good, you and your fucking partner." We're like, "We're actually not partners today. We actually have 2 boots with us, 2 probationers, or brand new like patrol officers." And we're like, "We are not." He's like, "You are now." And you guys are stuck here babysitting this fucking residence, and you guys can't come outside. So we had to sit in there with this fucking dog. And look, eventually we came outside with the dog. We opened up all the windows. I mean, I doused their carpet, like the dog and the carpet. Like there was a piss spot of OC spray on the fucking carpet. And it was so hard to breathe. But I was like, I felt so bad because I never do that. I never pepper spray. I don't use it in a house, but with a dog, I was like, fuck it, dude. I don't want to get bit. And my partner, we came so close to getting bit. So yeah. I kind of Jenkins that shit a little bit.
Adam?
Oh, it's Jenkins.
Do you remember Adam?
A little bit, yeah.
Those of you that have listened to the show, you know my buddy Adam. He's told his story many times. Adam got in trouble one time because Adam went to a barking dog call at 1 a.m, as one does when it's a slow night, and he found the dog. It was barking, but nobody was home to answer the door. They were out of town for the night. So he as he's up trying to knock on the door, the dog comes after him and he's like, "Get it back, dog." And the dog's like barking at him, keeps approaching him, and it's a pit bull. So he sprays it. And then he goes, "Nobody's home. Dog's quiet. I'm leaving." Dispose the call. Well, then the homeowner came home and their kids played with the dog, not knowing the dog had been pepper sprayed. And the rule became, if you spray somebody's dog, leave your goddamn business card with a note saying, "Please watch your dog. I had to spray it."
We definitely didn't do that. But long story short, that dog.
Well, you didn't get somebody in the chief's office complaining that their 4-year-old had touched a dog's face and then been contaminated with pepper spray.
Oh no, it was a shooting. They didn't give a fuck. It was a shooting suspect with legit hit, so they didn't give a fuck.
So Chief, you did the Instagram thing, but you also had a storied 30-year career in law enforcement or 26-year career in law enforcement. I know you've had some crazy experiences, but what you said to me was interesting, and I hope you don't mind going into this. You said that you had been in an OIS and then another OIS 20 years apart. Is that correct?
Yep.
And you had said there was a marked difference between that. So if you don't mind, the floor is yours, man. Please tell us, what is your story? And we'd love to hear about it.
So about, I think it was 10, I was about 10 months, 11 months on the job, just got probation, and I'm going to domestic. Now I'm in Cook County, Illinois. All right. So we do things a lot differently. So back in the day, they would have they would call a round table where the state police comes out. They still do all the shooting investigations. Mm-hmm. So back then on the first incident, it was domestic violence. The girl came out the house. She's saying that her boyfriend is going crazy. He got a gun, but he's in there with his sister. So I'm rolling up and I come across the female. She's like, "Oh my gosh, he has a gun in the house." I'm like, "All right, let's roll on over there." I called dispatch. "Hey, I'm going over there." And I'm like, "I'll advise." Typical. I'll advise. So I roll over there. She's like, "Oh, he's inside. He got a gun. This and that. Now I've been to this house before. Mm-hmm. Never ever seen the male. So it's like that mythical male that's there. So every time I go, he's always leaves the scene. We've never came across him. So I walk up the stairs. It's about 8 stairs, I remember. So I get up to the top. And I go to grab the doorknob, but before I go to grab doorknob, there's a window right off to the right-hand side. So once I go to grab the doorknob, the dude just starts laying rounds right through the door.
Oh, shit.
Now, luckily, I was off to the right, and he's laying. So I'm looking through the window. I go to grab the doorknob. He lays rounds through the door. So now I'm like, oh, shit. So I just pull back, and I just start laying rounds right back to that door, while going down the stairs. I don't remember going down the stairs. I don't
Right.
remember tripping because I was all bruised up.
Right.
You know, I all I remember is laying around, going down the stairs, and retreating from behind my car. SWAT was called in. You know, and then about 18 hours later, a sniper took him out. He came out. So that investigation, yeah. So a sniper came. 18 hours later, he came out. You know, holding the gun to the girl's head. Sniper did a great job. Shot him right in the head. You know, so he took him out. So the whole time I was on scene, I'm like, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm sticking around. Of course, you know, I gave my initial statement. You know, but it wasn't as intense as it was. You know, 20 years later, it was like, hey, you know, they took my firearm. They talked to me this and that. Okay, you know, stick around. Pretty much, it was very relaxed.
Right. They're like, hey, you got to give us your gun.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
All right. Don't
What
go.
happened? Yeah, don't go anywhere. You know, just stick around. So then they were like, it was like 12 hours in. They're like, hey, go home. We'll call you, you know, when state police need you.
Oh, it's super relaxed.
Yeah. So it's like 12 hours. It was 12 hours later, you know, and they're like, go home.
Were
So
you
I'm like,
on
no.
scene for 12 hours?
Yeah, I was on scene for 12 hours after that. Now, it was already
scene for 12 hours. Wow.
It was an 18-hour barricade. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just kind of surprised they let you, like, obviously somebody gave you another firearm.
Huh? No, I was just so it was pretty much like it was like they took my firearm, took my statement, and then I was like, you know what, I'm sticking around because they had a whole command center, it's like that. So I was.
So you're incident command. Okay.
Yeah, it was in command. I was there. They're like, okay, we're done with you right now. You want to go home? I was like, no, I'm sticking around. You know, I'm not leaving. So 18 hours later, they finish up, and then we go for a full debrief. I did a full debrief afterwards. And then we did a full debrief. They talked to the girl. So the thing that really got me was after they talked to the female, she said that the female that was inside, she said that he was going to wait because the door was left open till I popped in, and then he was going to shoot me right in the head. But he got antsy when I grabbed the doorknob. He just started laying rounds. Now I was on my game where I wasn't going to pop in. I was going to be one of those, you know, hey, hit the door open, you know, and then, you know, observe and stuff like that. So it wasn't like I was just going to jump inside there. So that was one of the things but the investigation on that was very lax. 20 years later, you know, so now we won't really call this on the job shooting because I had a misfire, but they still ran it like a shooting.
No ass, sure.
So if I wouldn't have said anything, you know, like, yo, you know, I pulled the trigger, nothing happened. You know, if I wouldn't have said anything, just kept it quiet, it'd have been swept under the thing. So 20 years later, I'm working a detail. I'm talking to some people at the park, and this is my first year as police chief. Like 4 months in.
So you're a working chief.
Yes. Oh yeah, I was out there. Yeah. Okay. So I'm out there talking to some people, and then about 80 yards away on the other side of the park by the street, some kids start. I hear some loud noise and a car screech. All I hear is pop, 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 pop. So then I look and I start walking towards them away from the people that I was talking to. And then I just see this kid running towards me full blown. And I tell you, it was like 85 yards away. He's running full at me. They're shooting at him. Now he's running at me. So he's at 85, 75, 65. And I just see the rounds hitting the ground. So now I see that I can't shoot over him. So I just dart 20 yards to the left. Now he starts running towards that way. So then I dart to the right because I'm trying to get a shot. I'm starting to get a shot off.
Yeah.
So then I dart all the way to the right, and then he starts running towards me again. I'm like, stay your court. Like, just keep going this way. So I dart off to the right again, 20
Pick a lane.
He's looking like,
for sure.
What? Yeah, he's looking like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why does this cop keep running left to right? I'm trying to get my shot off, you know, because they're still shooting at him. Like, I mean, they're laying around. I don't know what this dude did, but he pissed them off. So I see the rounds hitting the ground. I'm darting to the right. So now I posted up and I'm ready. You know, now they're probably 45, 50, 60 yards away. I'm posting up. Boom. I'm like, I got one shot just to get this guy, you know, because he's so far. Anything else is just going to be all over the place. So I'm posting up, boom, click. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what the fuck? And now I start looking around, start seeing there's people behind him. I'm like, I ain't taking no more shots.
Right.
I'm done. So now at that point, I was just like, there's nothing else I could fucking do. You know, nothing. So then finally they stop shooting. They jump in the car. They take off. He gets shot in the hand. He comes running to me. You know, I put put a bandage on, call fire, but the investigation was completely different. It was almost like I was guilty until,
Mhm.
and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't even shoot my gun, but you wanted to. You were, and it's like, didn't you see all the people back there? Well, that's why, I was getting ready to take my shot, aiming up. I was just posted up. I got a good sighting in there. I was confident I was going to hit him. Click. After that, I assessed, observed that there was people behind him. That I'm like, no more shot. I cannot get another round and take another shot. It would be, I'd probably hit somebody else. Maybe hit somebody in the background that wasn't into it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
and it was gone.
yeah, and then it was like I had my chance. After that, I reassessed, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Ain't nothing I could do.
Was it
So
a
they
misfire?
stopped shooting. Yeah, it was a straight misfire. Primer hit, everything.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Did you try to allow it to cook off for a second and keep up, and then wait till
So-
it didn't?
So I just shot, and I was like, what the fuck? Like,
Right, you
your
didn't know you had a
adrenaline's pumping.
misfire. Right.
Right.
Hang fire.
Your adrenaline's pumping, and then I was like, fuck. So then I reassessed, racked, and then I was just like, my shot's gone. Fuck it.
So by the time you were able to tap, rack, and reacquire,
yeah, my shot was gone. Well, at first I was like, what the fuck just happened? I'm just like looking like, what the, like, did I shoot?
well,
Didn't I shoot?
how many cops have that in their recurring nightmare list?
Yeah.
Oh,
Pulled
everyone.
the trigger and it went click instead of bang.
Mhm.
So when
Yep.
it really happens, it'll fuck your OODA loop up a little bit.
Yeah, because and that's what people, I see it all the time. It's like, everyone's like, oh, if it happens, you're going to do this, you're going to do that.
Yes,
You ain't going to do
you are.
none of that.
No,
Yeah.
you're gonna, but how fast you do it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well,
You're-
I did it. Well, yeah, but
You're going to assess.
I'm gonna tell you
Yeah.
in the moment, you're gonna feel like it took forever, and it
Mhm.
really only took you like a second or two, right?
Oh yeah.
When they stress you out and they make you do it on the range, you're still trying to block it out, and you're still operating like once you're in the shit, you don't know how long time elapses. So you're like, oh, that took me 10 seconds. No, it took you half a second.
Mhm.
But it still felt
Mhm.
like 10 seconds. Or maybe it takes
Yeah.
you a second and a half, because you're not on the range, right? But
Yeah.
you got to account for real world factors. As many people have said before me, if your sight picture and your shooting stance is good, you're not moving and utilizing cover properly.
Yeah. And I was winded. Like because I'm running back. And
Yeah.
Running back. And then plus two is they're shooting two as well. So
Of course,
they're
you're
throwing
winded. You're a
rounds
chief
off.
at that point.
No.
I know. I see you. You're in good shape. I'm just.
But it's like, they're shooting, and then I go and I'm like, I only got this one shot. I mean, they're pretty distant far away. I lined it up, boom, nothing. And then it was like, by the time I racked, got another one in there, it was over. And it was just like, what can I do? Like, there's nothing. I mean, I can't take any more shots. There's too many people behind them. The only thing I could do is just, hey, hopefully this dude don't get hit. Call the radio, get some units over here.
Right. Yeah, you paid attention to your background, and I think that's like one of the most important things, because you were able to break that tunnel vision of a shooting, and you're like, okay. And I think if you didn't have that misfire, you probably would have cranked off a couple more, because that tunnel vision, you wouldn't have had
You
that
might not have cranked
misfire
out
to
more.
break your tunnel vision. So, I mean, I think everything happens for a reason, and that definitely happened for a reason. And people are alive today. So, I mean, I think it's a win. But now the difference between the first shooting and that second, technically shooting, well, it was officer involved shooting because you were being shot at, because there was a suspect or someone running towards you and suspect shooting in your direction, and you had the intent to fire, and you tried and it didn't go. So what were the differences, the major differences that you saw from the first shooting to this shooting?
So
Did they
it
sequester
could have.
you?
So it could have been. It could have been the first shooting was, hey, I was returning fire coming down, and then SWAT came out and essentially took him out. I didn't hit anybody. SWAT came out, took him out. So that was a lot more relaxed. The shooting was focusing more on SWAT, on the barricade subject, stuff like that. But still, it was very relaxed. With this, it was a misfire, and still, it was treated like just almost like a shooting. Just breaking down a shooting over and over, almost like you're being interrogated.
Did
Just
they
like
sequester you?
no, in respect. So I had two interviews, and that was pretty much it.
At scene or
So one at scene, and then I was called in back afterwards about a week later with state police and went over it again just to pretty much go over what I said the first time to confirm that it was, all the same. Make
Right.
sure probably I didn't slip up anything, but it was pretty much, hey, they're coming at me. I go to shoot, misfire. I don't shoot any more rounds. Call it a day. Make them aware. Well, why didn't you shoot again? Would you shot again? No, it was one of those thoughts where it's like I have one shot and that's it. And that was my thought process too as well, because the distance where they were at, it was like
Right.
I was going to take this one shot, line it up nice, and just hopefully just get them. After that, that was it. I mean, because there were so many people outside the park, looking at the background. I had that one opportunity, didn't have it anymore. Done.
Right.
It's crazy. Like I know, so when Tom got in his shooting, it was years before my shooting, and then I got into his shooting, and I think ours were probably pretty much similar, like with the sequestering,
Yeah.
keeping you separated from your partners, because I know that's what they did for me. They separated everybody who was involved.
Yeah.
They took the shooter, put him over here. They took everybody else, and
Oh,
there's
we were
supposed to be
suspects,
individual.
right?
Yeah,
like,
and-
like
It's always like that.
everybody was cool with us, but you can't talk to anybody. You sit in a room. Like, do you want a lawyer? Like,
Mhm.
advise me of Miranda. I mean,
Right.
it was, I'll say it. At the time, I was like, part of me was going, holy shit, this is so cool, because, you see this happen all the time on TV, and here I am in the middle of it. And then all of a sudden, holy shit, I just got read my rights. And like,
Got real.
it got like, they're asking me if I want a lawyer, and this shit's going to be on the news, and my fucking fam, like the,
Oh, so you didn't
reality-
have your lawyer when they started?
no.
Did you, Chief? Did you have your lawyer when you started on any of them?
No, the first time, no. Second
Yeah.
time I did. Yeah. Because you're going.
I had my rep.
And
I had
I
a
know,
rep, but
and I know you had the same mindset as me. I did nothing wrong. There's no reason, and everybody has that mindset. I did nothing wrong.
right.
What do I need a lawyer for? And then it's
Yeah.
like they'll burn it in your brain. Like, you sure you don't want a lawyer? It's like, oh, is you sure you want your rep, or you want, it's like,
Yeah.
and the thing with us is we weren't union. We didn't have a union rep.
Oh,
So-
wow.
Yeah, our unions are toothless, but our so like the association, the collective bargaining, they usually have pretty good lawyers that are sharks at defending cops from cities. So it's not so much that the union is strong; it's that the association has really smart lawyers who can make the city scream big dollars if they fuck up.
Yeah. So my supervisors called immediately for lawyers.
Mhm.
And they're like, get them lawyers. And anytime I've ever had an IA or a complaint, my first time ever getting into a IA, I had a rep because I didn't know what the fuck I was supposed to do because I was a probationer.
Mm.
Ever since then, every time I always had a lawyer present, except for one other time. And it was my supervisor talking to me and I was comfortable with him. So I just did it with no rep and I was by myself. But every other time after that,
But
it
the
was
stakes
always a
were probably
lawyer.
pretty low too.
Yeah, and when we got the shooting, my fucking lawyer met me at the station and was like, "What do you want to eat?" And I was like, "Everything," because when I got into my shooting, it was towards the end of my shift, right? It was like 2-3 hours before the end of watch, and then everything happened. Once the scene was like called cold and everything was like done and over with, it had been like almost an hour after we had arrived on scene. And then that's when I was being carted off. And I literally sat into a fucking room for 15 hours before my interview and then had the interview. So I did a double shift and then went home. And they're like, hey, you want to go home and sleep and then we can do this tomorrow? I was like, fuck you. And let's get this shit done, dude. I'm already awake.
So you had a lawyer for your second interview? Is that what you're saying,
Chief?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For the second one, yes. Yeah.
Right.
It's something just didn't seem right the first time around. Like, it was like, and you know what the funny thing was? I should never fucking say anything.
Right.
Even to this day, thinking about it, like nothing came about it, stuff like
Right.
that.
Right.
But it was like, if I wouldn't have fucking just said anything, and it was one of those things that was like maybe 45 minutes into it, and it's like, like, hey, you fire your weapon? No. Like, well, really, I didn't fire my weapon.
Right.
I'm like, but I pulled the trigger and it was a misfire. Oh shit! Holy cow! Grab his gun. It's like,
Oh my gosh.
Well, you got the
Yeah.
range guys. You got the range guys up your ass trying to figure out how you had a misfire. So they're
Yeah.
all mad. And then you got
they're pulling out the bullet and they're like
Right.
examining it, and like I think that's evidence.
You think? It shows your your restraint, and I just think like so many law enforcement agencies, they would rather almost demonize their officers for doing what they're trained to do instead of just being like, hey, calm down, everything's all right, we're gonna get through this. This is what happened. Just tell us your story. And you're like, look, dude, I saw it was coming. There's rounds actively being cranked off. I could see them hitting the ground. I saw a victim running. I keep trying to, get my distance in a good shooting platform and cover and concealment. And this guy's running toward me. I tell him to get over here and keep running straight so I can get a good shot and not shoot him. And I went to go take a shot and misfire. And by the time I was able to clear that malfunction and that round and get back up on target, I could see that there was people out and the background was fucked. And I started calling in reinforcements. And by that time, suspects were, fucking taken off in the car, southbound through the street or whatever.
Yeah.
And
you could see the guy, guy when he was giving his statement to the guy, to the reporting officers, you could see him like, he was running this way. I don't know why. And then the cop just started running that way. And then he told me, just fucking stop moving, get on the ground. And it's just like, he's just like pointing this way. He's pointing that way. Just indicates.
They thought you lost your mind.
Yeah. I must have moved at least 3-4 times, just running left, running right. Cause every time I would do it, he started darting straight towards me. And then finally I was like, fucking just keep on this path, get on the ground. And by then it was just like, fucking, it was over with. And the guys were just, dude, it was just a fucking hot mess.
Were they shooting with rifles or with pistols?
No, with pistols. Oh, if they're shooting rifles, this dude would have been toast.
Yeah.
Like, this dude would have been, hey, I'll tell you what, with a rifle, man, they're on point every time.
Really?
Well, you better be. So now you're retired.
Mm-hmm.
And how long have you been retired?
So I've been retired 3.5 years. And it feels like it's a week or two, because what I'm doing now, especially with a body armor company that I'm working with, Safe Flight Defense, working with chiefs, sheriffs.
They can tell them they can advertise on our podcast if they'd like to. We'd be more than happy to have them advertise on our podcast.
Yeah. So I'm director of sales for Safe Flight Defense. I run all their corporate and municipal and government accounts, stuff like that. Me and my team. So I've been doing it with them for 3.5 years. I retired, took about a month off, and then came with Safe Flight Defense. I've been with them ever since. I do full-time hours. It started off as a part-time job, repping their product.
Right.
It was like, the owner of the company, great dude, man, knowledgeable, not the police, but man, this dude is like on point with his stuff. He's like, just chief, come on. You'll work a couple hours, maybe 20 hours a week. But I evolved into it. We didn't have a corporate department like we have now,
right.
And the passion, just talking to sheriffs. And then when you get that first call, like, man, your body armor saved me. And it was just like, that was like a month into the job. I sold it to a police department. They said, hey, our body armor saved you. And then it's like, you get to talk to all these cool ass sheriffs,
right?
Police chiefs from small different towns. You're telling your stories, you're helping them out, and there's a lot of different things that people understand is like a lot of departments, they can't afford body armor.
Right.
They're looking for grants.
Yeah.
And then you got the police officers, they're wearing body armor. They're wearing, concealed carriers, body armor under their shirts. And they're like, they want to go to load bearing vests. And they'll say, hey, can you send me a vest? I want to show my chief. I'm like, okay. So what is that going to do? He goes, well, I want to show my chief that it's load bearing vest. That's not the way you do it. No. You put together a proposal, right, to show the benefits, the pros and the cons, mainly the pros. And I have a template already designed, so I'll send it over to him. And they was like, yo, your shit worked, man. My chief loved it. Because now you're putting it on the police chief, showing that, hey, you know what? This is showing that the body armor is not only going to benefit them, just like with cooling, comfort, but also too with like back injuries, strain on the backs, movements. It's really putting it on them. So now when they're bored and stuff says, hey, why do we have so many back injuries? Like, oh, well,
LBVs are awesome. There's a lot of departments that are afraid to go to them because they feel like it makes them look militarized. But the LBV, dude, I can't tell you how much I wish I could have taken all that weight off my hips. I had my belt was so heavy. My hips were so, dude. It was worse, and I've worn a tool belt with full tools for 8 to 10 hours on a construction site, and this was worse. It sucks.
Then you're having to sit in a car for 8 hours, 10 hours.
That's why I have
with
the back problems I have. Okay, so I'm not shitting you, right? All my cops out there, right? I want you to start tracking these numbers: L5S1, L5S1, L5S1. Start asking cops when they say, "Oh yeah, I have a back thing." Just ask them, what do you have? And they will all fucking tell you, L5S1. That's what I have. My buddy has. So my other buddy has. And I've talked to random people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got a back thing," and I'm like, "Where is it?"
L5S1.
L5S1.
I had surgery.
That's from wearing the belts, right? Like other people, other professions, they have back, neck, in different areas. Man, L5S1. So I can. You're preaching to the choir on the LBV stuff. That stuff is.
But it's just like helping the younger officers out. They don't understand that there's a process to it. You can't just say, "Hey, we're going to go to load bearing vests." The chief has to propose that to the commissioners, the trustees, the aldermen, why they're going to that. There's a whole process to that. So we help them out with that.
Yeah. So I learned quickly. I'll give you a perfect example. North Hollywood shootout. My father was LAPD. North Hollywood shootout happens. LAPD at the time, when my dad came on, could only carry a 38 special. And then when the military adopted the Beretta many years, a few years after that, LAPD said, all right, you can carry a 9mm Smith or a 9mm Beretta. North Hollywood shooting happens, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, we need some more firepower. And all of a sudden they authorized these other two 45s. And I said, well, why didn't they just authorize that, a long time ago? How come it took you so long to get radios? How come it took all these different things? Well, when you're changing the policy of a police department that has almost 10,000 people sworn, NYPD, I think if you add up all three police departments, Port Authority, Transit, and NYPD proper, I think it's 45,000 sworn. The sheriff's department in LA County is 10,000 sworn. When you're talking about numbers for Chicago, LA, San Francisco, these are numbers where it's really hard to steer that ship. You do have to go justify it to the commissioner. You do have to go justify it to the city council, the police commission, the board of governors, whatever you have. Now, an elected sheriffs are a whole different ball of wax. They're elected.
They'll do what they want.
You could walk into the sheriff's office and go, "Sheriff, check this gun out. What do you think?" And he can go, "You got it. You can carry it." And he signs a little letter and you're good to go. So it works a little bit differently if you're a elected county sheriff. Now you get into all the other kinds of things, but the point you're saying is well taken. And I will throw myself under the bus and say, when I was young in my career, I pulled the chief aside drunk at a wedding and tried to talk him into letting me carry a gun. And he's like, "I appreciate your," and we were drinking together. We were drunk together at this wedding reception. And there was no way you're going to get your chief to say yes to letting you carry an experimental caliber weapon. That cool as shit. It was the FN-57. I'm like, "Chief, FN."
I was about to say, is it the FN-57?
Nice.
FN-57, 20 rounds, chief. Stopping. I was, he's like, "You're not, no, there's not enough alcohol at this wedding to get me to say yes." Now, if I was sober and I'd brought him a proposal about field testing the FN-57 and I'd gone to FN and I'd gotten there, if I'd done my research, maybe I would have gotten a different answer from a sober chief who would say, "You know what? You've done the time, you've put the thought, you've put the effort, you've put the research into it. I'll give you your shot." So I will say the chief's not blowing smoke up your ass. He's been a chief. He knows what it takes to change shit on a department.
And that's one of the things that we do. It's like probably today I had like 10 officers say, "Hey, I want to get a demo vest." Just mean that, hey, pretty much, I want to show my chief.
Right.
So we used to, back when we first started, we used to send out vests. Now we make them get a letter because a lot of times these officers would get the vest and the
Right.
police chief wouldn't even know it.
Right.
They would get it and they would wear it. They would show their buddies, but they wouldn't show the admin, the
Right.
people where it actually counts,
Right.
So now we do it a little bit differently where we get a letter, we make them get a letter from their chief or their sheriff saying, hey, you know what? And we help them out, so it's like there's a lot of grants out there that are available too as well, and
Right.
we'll get departments, we'll say, hey, we don't have the funding, what do you have available? And we'll say, okay, look up this grant. We'll help them write a grant proposal. I have a lot of templates for a lot of different stuff, just to help them, to secure body armor or even like how to pitch it. I've been in so many city council meetings where they just put me up on a laptop. They're like, hey, here's Paul they would call me by name. Here's Paul from Safe Flight Defense. Take it away. And I'm like, who are all these fucking people? Like, oh, you're at a council meeting. Can you explain the benefits of the vest? And, I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, you're the subject matter expert, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But they'll be like, hey, we want a meeting at 7:00. I'm like, all right, that's a little late, but let's do it. And then we'll open the meeting and they just open the laptop and there's like 50 people sitting there. I'm like,
so they ambush you.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm like, what?
But to be fair,
like,
here's
hey,
the
what's
thing,
going
man. Here's the thing. To be fair, I have never had a salesman at a car dealership not want to help me fill out the financing paperwork. So for you're like, hey, we'll help departments fill out the grant requests. Well, goddamn right. The car dealership helps me fill out the financing paperwork too. So it's just smart business, right? You're helping people facilitate something that ultimately serves two things. It keeps them safe and helps a law enforcement friendly company with a good product develop a healthy bottom line and creates competition in the marketplace, which inherently drives innovation, which means thinner vests, lighter weight, more breathability. Like if you think if one company owned all the vests, you'd only have Kevlar, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But the modern advancements in body armor technology is from healthy competition in the marketplace. And from what I've heard, no free commercials, but I've heard, your company has a good product.
Yeah, we're very busy, very fortunate. I mean, our CEO is always changing things, always evolving. Our new body armor, our Hyperline, thinnest body armor on the market right now out there. It's using proprietary material, not Kevlar.
Right.
And that's why this stuff is just amazing stuff. I mean, the way the material is designed, it contours your body. I mean, when you take it off, it's like a man bra. It's a great product. It's crazy thin. And it's the lightest body armor on the market.
So what I want to know
is,
can you make it look like the Batman suit where my pecs and my
we could do that
are molded?
When you take it off, well, you have to have the abs first.
No, I don't want to do that. I just want to have I just put them on the vest. I want you to airbrush them on my tummy like an actor. So put them in the vest.
You want that De La Hoya abs? Huh?
Yeah, right.
you want the De La Hoya? Okay, yeah, I want those too.
There you go.
We could probably do that. Now with Safe Flight Defense, I mean, so here's the thing with Safe Flight Defense where you touch.
By the way, I just want the audience to know this is not a commercial for Safe Flight Defense. Like
it is.
It just so happens that Chief works for a good company and we're talking about it. So go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yes. So with the I mean, there's a lot of companies out there. Like you got Point Blank, you got Safari Land, all the bigger companies. I mean, great. I've worn all their stuff in the past. Stuff like that, and Safe Flight Defense is just a company that I work for, and it's a great company, and I push it. But it's like I go above and beyond to help out departments. It's just because that passion. Because to be honest, if I was a regular salesperson, I'd be like, you know what, screw you, I'm going to the quick sale. I'm going to the one where I can go real. But why am I going to waste 2 or 3 hours or a whole day helping you write out grant paperwork when I could say, screw you and just jump on? Because we're extremely busy. We're growing very fast. But we're very passionate about helping out people,
right,
to get body armor. Because I personally give away body armor, a couple vests a month myself through Live LEO, which is my marketing and social media company that everything branches on there. And that's the money that I make off social media. So if whatever money I make off of like Instagram, off of sponsors, I use that money and I'll give away 2 or 3. Try to do 2 or 3 vests a month. Safe Flight Defense gives away 2 or 3 vests a month too as well to law enforcement officers. We have a Guardian program that you could sign up for. Anyone who's out there right now, if you're looking for a vest, someone needs a vest, sign up to the Guardian program, and possibly get a new vest.
Nobody policing in this day and age should be out there without a vest because they can't afford one. You want to be the asshole who goes 10-8 without a vest because you don't have to, because your policy says you don't have to, go for it, dude. Like, yeah, power to you. Fine.
And there's so many.
Whatever. Okay, Superman. You're right. Like, whatever. It's dumb. But,
there's so many companies out there, or not companies, but agencies that should be on, load-bearing vests, but they refuse because they're like, well, tradition, we want to wear our wools and, not wear BDUs, not wear, load-bearing vests. We want to look, like we did, like Adam 12 era, and you're like, well, and I'm specifically talking about LAPD. They do not want to change their look. Yeah, they do not want to change their.
There's a lot of agencies like that, bro.
But I know, and I'm just saying, like, there are so many agencies like that.
When we could point to.
But yeah, and have you ever dealt with an agency like that and got them onto load-bearing vests by showing them the pros and cons and all the?
Yeah, that's a good question. Have you ever come up against a resistive admin where the officers bring you guys in telling you our admin doesn't want to do this? Do you think you could pitch him on it and get him on board? Have you ever had an admin where you go into it knowing they're like kind of leaning towards no, and then you were able to convert them? Or by the time you get there, are the admin usually like on board with it?
There's a lot of departments, believe it or not, we have a lot of departments that are like that. And that's where it falls back, right? Where I mentioned about, I have that template with the pros and cons,
Sure.
The benefits of doing it. So we'll pitch it to, they'll pitch it to the sheriff or the chief or whatever the case, but he'll go shoot it down and say, hey, can you talk to the police chief? I'll talk them to as well, talk about the pros, talk about the benefits, the carrier, stuff like that, and then maybe get some more discussions. And then finally they come around, or they'll get a demo vest, they'll try it out. The chief will try it, like, oh, this is comfortable. Maybe we should go to this. And then eventually he goes to it. So there's many departments out there we've had talk and to change their mind and to go in a load-bearing vest. And we're getting it more and more that departments just like, hey, I want to give load-bearing vests. And it's mainly like the older generation. Right. The newer sheriffs, the newer chiefs that are coming on, they're like, man, we're going to load. I had a sheriff, he just got elected. He wasn't getting into office. He's not getting into office till like January. He's already buying a bunch of gear for his guys. So on that day, he's ready to switch over to load-bearing vests. Right. He's got the body cameras. I mean, he's got everything. I'm like, Sheriff, I said, man, you know what? You might have a bunch of different guys, like by the time you get on. He's like, no, these guys are going to stay and work for me. And Texas down there. Yeah. I was like, yeah, you better be paying very well.
Yeah. Was it Eddie Murphy? Eddie Murphy did that joke back in the day. He was like, you go to the doctor and you have AIDS, and the doctor's like, you have AIDS. And you go, but doctor, I'm not a homosexual. And he goes, sure you aren't.
Yeah, so we change a lot.
That's the same thing. That's the same. Sure, they're going to be here, Mr. Sheriff.
So, the funny thing is that the agency that I work for has a lot of back injuries, has a lot of knee injuries, has a lot of injuries just in general. Very busy agency, lots of contact, whatever, lots of fights, a lot of shootings, a lot of foot pursuits, vehicle chases, yada yada.
Excuse me, I have to cough. Shitty hiring. Sorry.
Yeah. So there's that, and then when we first came on, the vest I had was like I don't know, it had like a little heart on it, whatever, and I don't remember the name of it, and it was pretty light, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, and it kind of like form fitted to my body, and I was like, cool. And then 4.5 years later, they're like, hey, we're your vest is out of date, we're switching to a new vest anyways, so go get fitted. I get fitted for this fucking thing, and it's literally like a flak jacket.
Flak jacket, right?
It's a fucking flak jacket with a sappy plate in the center. And because we all know, like, the steel plates they give you, those are bullshit. They'll ricochet up into your face, blow your face off, whatever.
It's keep a knife out of your heart. That's what it's going to do.
Yeah. So
you're talking about the trauma plates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the little 4x6. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. But I have,
ladies and gentlemen, it's going to keep a knife out of your heart. That's it. And when you get to the station, remember to put it in the back of your vest.
Yeah. So I had a plate carrier in the front, a plate carrier in the back, and it was legit like a mini plate carrier. It was like 8 inches, 9 inches wide, maybe like 8 or 9 inches tall. and about a half-inch thick, and I wore that, and
A
I wore it on my
inch.
dude. It was like legit. It was like that, dude. It was legit thick, and
Damn.
I still have it. It's at my locker, but I put this thing on and I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's the flak jacket. This thing is heavy as fuck. Like, it's not heavy as a flak jacket, but it is bulky. It's like trying to shoulder a rifle is like a lot different. You have to really get used to it, and it breaks in
Guess what,
after
homie?
about a year.
You don't ever have to put it back on.
No, but I'm just saying, like, that was so much heavier. And you're like, look, dude, like, our back's all fucked up, you know, whatever. They're like, yeah. But we went to lightweight belts. And you're like, lightweight belts? This thing's a piece of shit.
Lightweight shoelaces.
And dude, and you're like, this is not working. You upped our vest by like pounds.
Yes, but you have
Upped our
thinner
vest by
socks.
pounds. And the fucking funny thing is the belt. Yeah, thinner socks. The belt, when you had it fully loaded down with all of your gear, your taser, your fucking everything, like fucking cameras,
Only like
DICV,
2 ounces lighter.
fucking stupid. Yeah, it's like a few ounces lighter, and you're like, the fuck, this is.
Yeah, it's like you bought a pound and the dealer pinched an ounce.
Yeah, and but it has a underbelt that's Velcro, so it stays better and doesn't sag on your hips.
It's my ass.
Fuck, the whole belt sags on my hips because it's pulling everything down. So now I have to keep everything super tight.
Now my pants are sagging, so I got to tighten it even more. Anyway,
I wish the agency I worked for would go to a load bearing vest. To be quite honest, like it'd be.
Chief, we appreciate you coming on. We're running out of time, but normally we let our guests dedicate their episode to somebody who has fallen on the line of duty. This week, you do not have a dedication, if I'm not mistaken. So we are going to provide one, and I know Chuck has
that. If it's the one you wanted to send, I didn't get it, but I have one off ODMP.
I have the one I sent, but I will, so I can read it if you
can read it because I didn't get it.
Okay, this is stupid. I'm having all kinds of stupid problems with the stupid phone, but I'm gonna read. Okay, here we go. South Carolina lost a Highway Patrol officer killed in line of duty while responding to a call. He was killed Wednesday after his patrol car collided with a tractor trailer. The Newberry, South Carolina community is in mourning following the death of a local police officer. According to Newberry Police Chief, the officer died Wednesday in a crash while responding to a call for service. South Carolina Highway Patrol reports the officer's patrol car collided with the tractor trailer Wednesday evening. Happened on Highway 395 and Highway 34. Authorities say the officer was killed and the tractor trailer driver was taken to the hospital. On Thursday, the officer was identified as Lieutenant Mike Wood. The Chief Porty extends his deepest condolences to our brothers and sisters at the Newberry Police Department. The officer, Lieutenant Mike Wood of the Newberry Police Department, rest easy, brother. We got it from here.
Hear that, brother.
Sucks.
We'll keep doing, like I said, we'll keep doing the dedications till we can't do them anymore, which means that either the show's off the air or we've figured out how to arrest people without cops getting killed.
Right. How long have you guys been doing? How many episodes are you guys in right now?
215, I think. 215.
Something like that.
Where we're at.
Holy shit.
We've got more. We've actually got more than that total. If you count our locker room episodes. So you may not know this, Chief, but a couple years back, we were asked by the listeners to do more than one podcast a week. So we started out twice a month, went to, once a week. And then, we transitioned to twice a week. So we have our Monday episode, which you're going to be on. This is War Stories. And then we'll on Wednesdays go into the locker room where we've got all of our buddies, friends of the show, people who have been on, friends, guys that I've known for years, Chuck's known for years. And we just kind of talk about current events because that's what we took a poll and that's what it was like. Yeah, just talk about what's going on in the news, what's going on in the world. So that's where we take all of our outside of law enforcement conversations about, holy shit, did you see LeBron James's kid drop dead of a heart attack or almost died of a heart attack? Those kinds of conversations. And so if you count those, that number's probably up to about 350.
Wow, that's crazy.
And we're in talks of adding another podcast.
We're now it looks like we might be building a podcast network. So we're going to have multiple shows distributed so our listeners can get multiple podcasts by following just our podcast feed. And then we'll on the same feed upload our show, or our two shows, another show. So it's almost becoming its own podcast network.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
interesting.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was with my YouTube channel was I was doing them breakdown videos and just
Right.
going over stuff like why a police officer pulled out his taser instead of a gun, why he shot him. Just for the public to say like, oh well, he should have used this. Like, hey, understand? Like he used his taser because of this. Used his firearm because of this. Why did he punch him? Use compliance strikes because of this. That was one of my main goals. But then YouTube got so strict on doing those videos, like even like Donut Operator and stuff like that. You can see he's slightly transitioning away from a lot of like shooting breakdown videos. It just got really, 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 really tough. So now I'm just on these until I can start transitioning and get some more time. Because with Safe Flight Defense, I mean, like literally working 40, 50 hours a week, but it's like work where you're helping a lot of people. It's like right now, my phone, like it's 7:00 in Chicago, 7:45. I had 8 missed phone calls. It's and off from departments, and I don't mind taking the phone calls after hours, because it's like they're working afternoons. I guess some people call me like 3, 4 in the morning. And it's like, hey, what's up? Like, hey, you sleeping? Yeah. Oh, well, I'm on mids. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Thanks.
Exactly. And you're like, okay, great.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on. You are invited back anytime. We'd love to hear your stories. We'd love to talk about what's going on. Now, tell our listeners all the places they can follow you. And here, this is your chance. Yes, I know.
Plug your stuff.
Last like 10 minutes plugging the company you work for, but now we can spend a couple minutes just talk about your stuff, what you're doing, where people can find you.
So, I mean, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Threads now, which is a new thing for Instagram. Oh wait,
Threads is on Instagram?
Yeah, well, Threads is the new
Twitter.
What is that?
Yeah, it's the new Twitter.
It's not. Like, come on.
Yeah. Threads is something similar to Twitter, but it's associated with Instagram. You have to have an Instagram account to go on Threads. And the funny thing with Threads is when you download Threads, you cannot download Threads unless you delete your Instagram. Someone was telling me something weird with that stuff. So I have Threads on my phone, so I figure I'm just gonna leave it. I don't
do Threads. I don't do Twitter because they're both garbage.
Yeah. I was on Twitter years ago.
Because I've got family members on there.
Oh, Facebook too as well. The chief official. So
there you go.
I'm pretty much on everything. I'm always open to DMs. Someone wants to message me. You got a problem with a vest? You got a problem? You're not feeling right? DM me. I respond to every single DM, no matter if it takes me all freaking night. And I get a whole lot of DMs, and it could be anything from, hey, look at my feet, to the, hey, I'm ready to jump off a bridge.
We passed that point. We passed that point a long time ago. And so now we get the DMs, right? And actually, this is funny because this is something we were talking about earlier, but we get the DMs and the listeners know, we've told them, we don't always respond to the DMs because sometimes they'll just send us, hey, nice job, or they'll send us a meme, or they'll communicate with us and we'll react, or we'll, send them an emoji or something like that.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. But to comment or chat back or with everybody, we just gotten to a point where we have our volume of messaging, it wouldn't be possible. So those listeners, some of them know because they'll hear us discuss something they sent, and that's how they know, who looked at it and stuff like that. And then occasionally we'll send a message back, but usually it's for people like when we message back and start getting into conversations, it's because we're working something out for the show, or it's somebody who's having a hard time, and
Like if you come across our show and you're like, hey man, I'm kind of struggling with something, we definitely respond 100% of the time.
Right.
Yeah. We definitely screen everything. We definitely look at everything. And generally we can see when it comes across our phones or laptops or whatever, tablets, when you send us something, we can, okay, it's real. I'll look at it later. Oh, okay, this is a question. Let me go look at it. Or, hey, this is a long form, like paragraph. And you're like, fuck, that's not normal. Let me go look at that. And you read it. And sometimes it's like, hey, I'm dealing with some shit. Hey, could you cover this? Or, hey, just thank you. And you reread it and we'll respond back. So there's a lot of that, but I want to take a time and say, thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you like today's podcast and the content we provide, please help us out by rating and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or really whatever podcast platform you subscribe to.
Yeah, Google Podcast. We're on like everything. Well, there are one or two that we're not on, but most.
We're available on all major podcast streaming platforms as well as on YouTube. Reviews and ratings are how podcast platforms decide what to recommend. So your reviews really help us grow the show. Also, please give us a follow on our Instagram at war_stories_official and our Facebook at War Stories Podcast. If you already follow us, please like and share our posts. If you click the link in our bio on Instagram and Facebook, you'll be able to reach all of our social media sites and our website. Another way to support us is by visiting our website at www.warstoriesofficial.com and grab some of our merch. We have patches and stickers, will be hoodies available. If you think you have a story to tell and you want to be a guest on the show, please email your info and a brief description of your story to us at booking.warstories@gmail.com so I can get you booked. We are always looking for veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, medics, but also corrections, dispatchers, and nurses. If you have a friend who you think would be a great fit, let them know about us and give them our booking email. Again, thank you for the support. Stay safe.
Yep. And Chief, I just want to say again, thanks for coming on. You're welcome back anytime. Just let us know. Even if you're like, I got a story I want to tell, or you have somebody you want to come on with and talk about some stuff, or if you just want to shoot the shit, we should invite Chief to come on the locker room. I bet you he'd have some.
We can tell stories all.
He'd have some things. He'd have some things to chime in with Matt and Margot. So we'll see if we can work that out. We're talking about doing some stuff on there, and we're trying to go live streaming. So anyway, thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. You're welcome to come back.
What you guys are doing, brothers. Stay strong out there.
And until our next episode, come home with your shield on it.